Every once in a while, I get the urge to pull a Ristretto shot like I used to several years ago. But there's always a problem that plagued this style of espresso. And you might remember baristas instructing guests to have the espresso at the bar so that it wouldn't have time to cool off and die. I certainly remember because I was one of those baristas. And looking back, I'm wondering, could those Ristretto shots have been better? Was I missing out on something? And can you use modern espresso techniques to make Ristretto that doesn't go bad when it cools? Now, to start, we need to define what a Ristretto actually is. Most agree that it's a 1-to-1 ratio of espresso to water, but how that is actually measured isn't quite clear. Now, jogging my memory, I remember an argument that I had about whether a 1-ounce shot tasted better than a 1.5-ounce shot. I can't remember who won the argument, but I decided to use these two volume measurements to guide me in recreating this recipe. And it turns out that with a 20-gram dose of espresso, and crema certainly influences this a bit, the 1-ounce pool landed at right about 20 grams, and the 1.5-ounce pool landed right around 30. And that's almost exactly a 1-to-1 and a 1-to-1.5 ratio. So for today, I'll start pulling shots with 20 grams in, 20 grams out, but allowing for some wiggle room since that's what was, at least on our bar, common practice at the time. My current setup is quite a bit different from what we were using back then. To start with the grinder, I'm using stainless steel flatburs which emphasize clarity over body and sweetness, and my machine is set to 6 bars instead of the traditional 9 bars. However, I'm also using WDT, precision baskets, and a puck screen, which should all help achieve more even extraction that doesn't end up going sour as it cools. But can the setup achieve a better extracted version of the ever popular Ristretto shot, or am I just going on a big nostalgia trip? I am going on a big nostalgia trip, but that's okay, because you can come with me by tapping the like button with 30 pounds of pressure, and you better go practice on a bathroom scale first. I'll know the difference if you didn't. So what I like to do is go in with a little WDT here before I throw it into my basket, just to make it a little bit easier on myself. And then instead of tamping, I just like to do this. I have this set up so it's as deep as a tamp would be. And it's quite heavy, so it is applying a bit of pressure. But it's doing the work, not my wrist, which I like. All right, so this first shot's gonna be a 1-to-1, so we'll stop it at 20 out. All right, that was almost exactly 20 on the nose. 20.3 grams. Okay, good. So, and it was about 25 seconds. By the way, here's the coffee that we were using. Not the first thing I would think of for a Ristretto, especially not a single origin. So, playing around with it this week has been pretty interesting. And it's really pleasant. There is a bit of acidity that is tiny bit overpowering. I'm gonna let this cool for a second and see how it turns out. But so far I found that this coffee is really adaptable to kind of whatever recipe you choose, whether it's Pourover or Espresso, which is really nice. You don't get that too often with single origin coffees. Yeah, so the Ristretto really emphasizes sweetness. The sweetness is actually getting a little bit higher and kind of coming up to meet the acidity as it cools, which is really interesting. The shot definitely is something that would have died because it's really not hot. It's really kind of like body temperature right now. Still really delicious. I'm gonna let one go a little bit longer and see how that 1 to 1.5 makes a difference. And I forgot the puck screen on the last one. To be honest, it doesn't make a huge difference, but if you have one, it's definitely worth using because it will kind of even things out just a little bit. If you tasted them side by side, you would notice a slight difference, but it's very slight. So a little bit more balance, a little more complexity, though if I had to choose, I think I kind of like the other one a little bit better. There is a little bit more cohesiveness, a nicer mouthfeel in general. And if I'm going for a Ristretto, this kind of tastes more like a shot that I would pull nowadays, to be quite honest. Like the 1-to-1 tasted way more like an old school, really luscious, creamy shot. And the 1-to-1.5 kind of tastes like it's in this other kind of weird zone. Yeah, so there is acidity there, there is sweetness there, but it's not coming up to the level of the sweetness in the previous shot. So oddly enough, adding that extra water didn't really add a whole lot of balance. So I guess if I'm thinking back to the argument that I had with my friend at the time, then whoever said 1-to-1, I guess they were right, because at least in this case, the 1-to-1 is tasting a lot better and a lot more true to the Ristretto style. And that's why I wanted to make this video, because I feel like in 2023 we've kind of forgotten, or at least I've certainly forgotten, about the Ristretto style. Myself and many others have certainly moved on to bigger shots that emphasize more clarity and acidity, but I think that this is a valid style that we should still keep on bar today. I'm definitely going to consider the Ristretto in my arsenal of different recipes that I have. It is a delicious expression of this coffee. Even if it's not the most clarity and acidity forward, it definitely emphasizes sweetness, and it does have a nice balance to it. So now I'm curious about your setups and if you're pulling Ristretto shots regularly. Comment down below if that is the case, and if you are looking for new ways to enhance your bar setup, then you're going to want to check out this video right here.